Hello everyone, thank you for taking a look at my video and my channel, and welcome to Grand Union. So guys, today I thought it would be a great day to have story time. Let's take a little walk over. Here we are, guys. Grand Union. So, yeah, there's always a lot in store for you at Grand Union, and I know I've been talking about sharing some information about like where the name Grand Union came from and the red dot. And I know a lot of you guys play Animal Crossing, so obviously when you picked out your island and then created your island name, obviously you probably had reasons why you decided to choose the particular name that you chose your island name to be. And for those of you that don't play Animal Crossing, if you did have the opportunity to actually play Animal Crossing and have your own island, guys, what would your island name be? So leave that in the comment below for those of you that don't actually play Animal Crossing. But just if you were going to play Animal Crossing, what kind of a name would you give your island? And actually, why would you choose that name? And then for those of you that actually play Animal Crossing watching my video, if you want to, share your island name and in the comments, tell us why you chose that name. Because my name is going to be an interesting story. Well, look at this, guys. There seems to be a lot of Grand Union branding here, doesn't there? All right. Are we ready to start our video? Are we going to share our documentary of Grand Union? I don't know. I don't think that's really me. Well, anyways, guys, you can see I took some time and went crazy with putting Grand Union on pretty much a lot of items that you can here on the island. And the table with the umbrella is supposed to represent the red dot. That's kind of why that's here. You know what I'm going to do, though, guys, is I'm actually going to walk around the island so you guys can take a look at like what I've been up to and the decorating. I'm not going to talk about the decorations, though, but we're going to have story time while I just kind of walk around. That way, I'm not just sitting here with you watching me sit here and talk. How does that sound? All right. Well, guys, it's going to be a little bit of a story, so grab your beverage of choice and some popcorn or a snacky snack and get ready to hear about how I came up with the name Grand Union, why I came up with the name, and why it's so significant now in 2022. Now, what's going to be great about this story, guys, is this is going to go back, way back in time, back when I was just a little Chucky. That's right, guys. At one time, I was just a little tiny peanut of a guy. I guess I'd be a little boy. And yeah, that's where the story begins. So, let's see. Now, I know most of my viewers are here in the United States, and I know I have a few people overseas in other countries, and I don't think, unless you're here on the East Coast in the New England area, like Western New York, Western Vermont, Eastern New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I'm trying to think where else. Those are the major areas towards the end of the lifespan. But unless you lived in those areas, guys, you might not know the name Grand Union and the red dot. Now, for those of you that are watching my video and you're like, Grand Union and the red dot, is that actually what I think it is? And guys, you're absolutely right. So the story behind Grand Union is Grand Union was at one time a really amazing supermarket or grocery store. Yeah, I know. I know. What? A grocery store? Why would you name your island after a grocery store? Especially a grocery store that's gone out of business. Doesn't make much sense, does it? Well, guys, this is where story time comes in. So now I'm going to go for a little walk, and we're going to have story time about Grand Union. So, back when I was, gosh, a little kid, let's see. Let's go back to the beginning. So, my parents got married, and they had me probably a couple years after they got married. This would be my mom's second marriage, and she had a son from her first marriage, which would be my brother David. And David was, I want to say 16, maybe 16 when my parents got married, and he was 18 when I was born. So he was just getting ready to move out of, he was moving out of the house and getting his own place, and then eventually got married, and he ended up settling in my hometown, which was, growing up, was Milford, New Hampshire. So guys, if you ever want to Google Milford, New Hampshire and check out images, you'll actually be able to see my hometown and the downtown oval with the bandstand and the town hall, which is this big, massive brick building. It was a really cool town, and what I found interesting was I always thought it was such a small town. Growing up, I just thought that was just a small New England town, and it actually was not. It wasn't as small as I actually thought it was. It was actually, I guess, a normal New England town for the most part, and it had a lot of mill buildings. And what I remember special about Milford was that Milford had 3 grocery stores in town. So we lived in kind of the, I guess, the southeast side of Milford. So we were close to what was called the A&P grocery store, and a lot of people probably remember A&P supermarket. They were known as the Atlantic Pacific. They were a national grocery store chain that went across the country at one time, and they have since gone out of business. And we also had an IGA supermarket out on the west side of town, and in the central area of town we had a grocery store called P&C Foodland. Now, I only went to P&C Foodland, I think maybe once or twice with my grandmother, picking up some items, and I was really little, guys, so I don't really remember that much about it. My brother actually told me, because he was living on his own, he used to shop at the IGA out on the west side of town. He really liked the store. I do remember that they had a fantastic bakery when I was actually old enough to go shopping on my own. They had such great, like, muffins and fresh orange juice that you could get. It was really amazing. So, but growing up, like I said, my brother had moved out, so I was kind of basically brought up as kind of an only child. And so, food shopping was basically going with my mom, and we would go to this supermarket called A&P. Now, the interesting thing I found out about, because I was kind of doing my research before I decided to share my story, I was actually really surprised to find out that the A&P was probably only about 10 years old, maybe 8 years old, 10 years old, about the time I would remember shopping there with my mom. And what I found out, amazing, guys, like, yeah, here we go. The thing I remember most about the A&P supermarket, my mother loved shopping there because it was great prices. Guys, the place was so freaking dirty. It was disgusting. I just remember dust, like you'd be picking up cans of soup, and there'd be dust on the soup cans, and there'd be dust on their cereal boxes, and that's all I remember. I just remember things just weren't clean. It wasn't like it was a filthy store. My brother said that from what he remembered, it was a very congested store. A lot of people shopped there because the prices were great. But that's all I remember about the store. So that's a little bit about the grocery store history of Milford. So, guys, this is where it's going to get good. My parents had their wedding anniversary, and a surprise for my mom, my dad took her to Hawaii for the wedding anniversary. So they went to Hawaii, and little Chucky didn't get to go. So I can only imagine how much fun they were having in Hawaii. I got to see pictures. I still have them. I actually kept them. But yeah, they went to Hawaii. It looked like they had a really good time. And I was left with... I kind of bounced between a couple different people. I stayed with my brother and his wife, who lived in Milford. And then my mother's close friends, Linda and Johnny, I stayed with them. And then I also stayed with my dad's sister, which would be my Aunt Margie. And when I kind of, stayed with everybody, when I was staying with my Aunt Margie, she had to go grocery shopping. And I remember getting ready in the morning, and she's like, we're going to go grocery shopping. And she says, we're going out to a new grocery store that's opened up in Amherst, out in I forget the name of the plaza, but it's right on 101. And she says, we're going out to a new grocery store that's just opening up. And it was a fairly new shopping center. So I remember us driving out there, and when we pulled in, the store's name was Grand Union. So Grand Union was, excuse me. So Grand Union was a brand new grocery store, and they were having their grand opening celebration. So what I remember most about the store was I remember seeing the sign on the outside of the building with the big red dot and the letter A. And when we went inside the store, we walked in, we got our shopping cart, and we were met by this character. It was a person dressed in a Planters peanut outfit, and they were handing out packages of Planters peanuts at the grand opening, which was really cool. So I got to sit in the shopping carriage and eat my Planters peanuts, and my aunt pushed me around in the shopping cart. And one of the things I remember as we got the shopping cart and walked into the store was that the produce department was kind of set off to the side, almost like in an alcove. And it was like a big U-shaped alcove with a case in the center. And then the very first aisle was the dairy aisle, which took you all the way to the back of the store where the deli was. And then the store the meat department ran across the back of the store, and then the other side of the store was frozen foods. And in between the dairy department and frozen food was the grocery aisles. So probably one of the other big things I remember, other than like going down the dairy department aisle, because it was a big aisle and it had lots of selections. I remember looking up, and along the ceiling was this white, I don't know what you'd call it. So it was like a white acrylic lighted sign. So it had like fluorescent lighting inside, and it was the fluorescent lights were enclosed in this like white acrylic like sign. It's like a plastic holder, and it ran in the center of the store from the dairy department in aisle 1 all the way across the store to frozen food. And in front of the like white acrylic lighted panels were these red panels that had like the aisle number, and it told you like what was in the aisle. Like, you know, aisle 1 had like butter and milk and yogurt and stuff like that. And so each aisle had like the aisle description, and then it had like a graphic of some kind, like, you know, a picture of like milk and orange juice and butter and eggs and stuff like that. And there were graphics and promotional things. And I was really little, so I couldn't read, I don't think, at that time. So I basically was just looking at the pictures. And I just remember like looking at this giant lighted sign and just thinking that it was just like so amazing. So the store was really neat. It was really cool. The walls were all paneled, but they weren't paneled like, you know, like the cheap 1970s paneling. They were actually like tongue and grooved, almost like maple boards. And so they were done horizontally throughout the store, and it was very nicely done. And then the store was all like red and white as the accent colors, and it was just very bright. It was very clean, obviously, because it was a brand new store. And that was just kind of some of the things I remember about shopping there with my aunt. We went there twice, and then my mom and I went there a couple times as well. One of the other great things I remember was they had a big picture of a cow, or I'm sorry, not a cow. It was a big picture of a steer, and it was the Grand Union Good Steer, and it had a blue ribbon with a Grand Union logo on the blue ribbon. And that was in the meat department, hanging up like near like the service counter. And the other thing I remember really well about the store was that there was this big giant glass canopy that sat over like the whole checkout area. And I didn't remember, I didn't know what the words were. I knew there were letters like on the glass canopy, but I didn't know what it said at the time. But eventually I found out. Their slogan at the time, when they were really big and popular, was "Clean, fresh, and good makes a Grand Union." So the canopy was done in a like burgundy, blue, and green, almost like a ribbon, and the ribbon was done in like this giant cursive slogan that said "Clean, fresh, and good." And those were just some of the things that I kind of remember about the store. Now, my mom ended up not shopping there that often because she didn't like the prices. It was like, I want to say probably about a 15-minute drive outside of Milford to go over to Amherst, and the prices were more expensive. I mean, it was a beautiful store, but that was not something that she really enjoyed. She was always very price conscious. When it came to shopping for groceries. But that was just one of the things that I remember growing up, and kind of about Grand Union. Now you might say to yourself, okay, well now it's 2022. Okay, so I got my game in 2020, so obviously I named it in 2020. But you're still saying to yourself, now, why in the world, in 2022, would you still be remembering this grocery store? And by the way, the grocery store was only open for, I want to say maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years. It ended up not being in a, I don't know if it wasn't in a populated area, or it never did well as a grocery store. There was several grocery stores that went in there after Grand Union, and all of them closed after a short time. So, so here's where, oh yeah, guys, gotta check out my Zen garden. So this is where the story actually does get a little interesting. So now let's picture, I'm all grown up, living on my own, and I had a buddy of mine that worked for a merchandising company, and he needed help, and I actually had time to give him a hand, and I asked him, what he needed help with, and he said that he had a caseload out in Vermont for some grocery stores that needed category work done. So basically it was like doing category resets. So it wasn't like moving products from aisle to aisle, but it was just basically taking away discontinued product, adding in new items, or changing like the height of the shelves and the flow of how the product was represented on the shelves. And that was something that I did, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So because they were paying mileage at the time, so it wasn't that bad. And one of the stores that I got to go to was a Grand Union in Swanton, Vermont. Now that's about 3.5 hours from here, guys. I actually drove 3.5 hours to go out and work at that store. But it was okay. I mean, young and single, it's all good. But here's where it gets interesting, guys. So, he says Grand Union, and I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, I remember we had a Grand Union in Amherst, New Hampshire. And I kind of thought about it a little bit, but really didn't actually think that much about it. Like I said, we didn't really have any Grand Unions around here, so it wasn't really something that I thought too much about. Alright guys, so here's where it gets interesting. I get up early in the morning, and Kurt, are you standing in the middle of the flowers? Bro, seriously? Can't have anything nice. So I got in my car and I drove my 3.5 hours out to Vermont, and it was a long drive. So guys, if you ever want to go onto Google, type in Swanton, Vermont. Guys, it's the last exit before the Canadian border in Vermont. If I didn't take that exit, I would be up at Border Patrol asking to turn around because I missed my exit. That's how far up north I was. Guys, it was crazy. This is my boy Eric. So, I finally get to the store and I pull in. And the outside of the store, and I'm going to share some photos. Hopefully I know how to edit correctly, guys, because I'm not really that great about editing my videos. But at the end of this video here, with story time, I'm going to have some pictures of the store in Swanton, Vermont, and then I'm going to also include just a short, I want to say maybe a 20-second video clip of Grand Union back in the day. And, whoops, sorry guys. And definitely make sure to watch for, it's going to be a guy talking at like one of the service cases, and it's going to pan from the seafood sign over to the bakery department. And you'll probably have to pause the video, but you can actually see the lighted aisle marker running through the store just above the bakery sign. So you'll actually see like what I'm talking about. So hopefully how I described this big lighted white and red aisle marker with graphic pictures and stuff will actually make sense when you see it. So, but yeah, hopefully that comes out okay. So, yeah, I'm at Swanton, Vermont. All right, back to story time, guys. So, yeah, I get out of the car, I go to walk into the store, and I walk into like the main entrance where the shopping carts are. And guys, this was probably, I don't know, maybe 2004? maybe 2004. So it was quite a few. It was a few years ago now. Guys, I turned the corner to walk into the store, and I'm greeted with the produce department in the alcove with the display case in the center. And I look to my left down aisle 1, and it's the dairy department, and you can see the deli in the back of the store. And I literally just stood there, and honest to God, guys, I was like, I can't believe this. I feel like I'm 5 years old right now. I was having such a deja vu moment, because the store was the exact floor plan, the exact cookie cutter spitting image of the Amherst, New Hampshire store that I hadn't been in since the 80s. So it was absolutely crazy. It was crazy, guys. So I ended up walking through the store first before I went up to, talk to the manager. And I just couldn't believe, like, they had the Grand Union Good Steer print still up on the wall. They still at the time had the lighted aisle marker, which when I went back to the store to take pictures, they had unfortunately taken that down. So you won't be able to see it in the pictures, which was kind of disappointing. But I did get to see, take pictures of the Clean, Fresh, and Good checkout canopy. And a couple pictures of like the inside and the outside of the entrance of the store. So yeah, that was it was pretty amazing, guys. And you'll notice that my villagers will often say things like best takeout in town, because the deli was known as the best takeout restaurant in town. They had really good chicken wings, and they had a couple different salads that were really popular, and I think they had like fried potato wedges or something like that. I can't really remember, but they were very well known to, like, if you needed a quick meal, you could stop at the deli, and pick up a pound of this or a pound of that and go home, and you'd have dinner for the night without actually having to make anything. And of course, back then that was huge. Oh, I guess I need to start making sure my area's cleaned up here, guys. I got what do you call it? Fossils down here. But yeah, so I walked through the store, guys, and it was literally the spitting image. Like, I had the same checkouts. I had the Clean, Fresh, and Good canopy. They had the frozen food department on the far side of the store. And what was neat about frozen food was, I don't know if you'll remember this, but they're known as what they call coffin cases. And basically, it's like a back-to-back refrigerated case or frozen food case that the food actually sits down inside of the case. So it's not like an upright wall unit with doors. It literally is like an open case that you have to reach down into. And it has like a shelving unit up over the top that had like, I don't know, like ice cream cones and different things like that, depending on like what the area was, and breadcrumbs and things. Was another thing over the frozen food section. You don't see those cases very often anymore. They're usually in really old grocery stores now, if you do find them. But it was amazing, guys. It was just such a shock to see, and it brought back like so many memories of like, staying with my brother and staying with my aunt and going to Grand Union and staying with Linda and Johnny. And my parents being away and, being in Hawaii. So I thought that was just, I just thought that was just so cool. So that's kind of where I kind of started like doing just like a little bit of research about like, what Grand Union was about and, the different slogans and what everything meant. And so, yeah, they were known as Grand Union. We have a lot in store for you. And clean, fresh, and good makes a Grand Union. And those were their big slogans back in the day. And they had the best takeout restaurant in town with their deli. And yeah, I think they had a couple of other things too. But it was really cool. So here's the interesting thing that I found out while I was doing some research, guys. So Grand Union back in the late 70s, early 80s, the company owners actually contracted a deal with an artist in New York City. His name is Milton Glasser, and he's a famous artist. And he actually was contracted to come in and recreate the image of Grand Union. So when I got to shop at Grand Union when I was a little kid at the grand opening, the reason why the store was so impactful to me, I mean, besides, you know, basically being in little small Milford, New Hampshire with, like, you know, old school grocery stores, and then all of a sudden you have like the state-of-the-art, you know, 1980s grocery store showing up on the scene. The store was actually designed to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not artful. The store was supposed to have like an impactful impression. It had a lot of specialty areas, like specialty cheeses, imported meats. Basically, the standard grocery store today was that store back then in 1980. Because back in like the 70s and 80s, the grocery store was basically just a place you went to, you got your groceries and you left, where Grand Union was kind of almost like, in a way, a destination, where you actually kind of enjoyed your time shopping in the store. Now, what I found interesting was even in 2004, it was 2004, you know, the company was a shell of what it was originally. They ended up going into real tragic hardship, and they ended up closing most of their stores, or most of their stores were sold off to competition, and they only had about a handful of stores left, and they were actually owned by the distributor of the groceries for the store. I'm going to say it was like CNS Wholesaler was the actual company that owns them. And they bought the rights to the name of the store. So, but even though like the store was like it was still really an impressive store. And I'm probably saying that because I remember the store like back when I was a little kid. So for me, like, you know, I could see through pretty much anything in the store, like what was going on as far as how it looked. But it was just so, guys, it was so amazing to see. You'd really, I guess, probably would have to be there to experience it. But like I said, it was such a deja vu moment from, you know, me being in my 30s. I think I was in my 30s at that point. Gotta make sure I grab that. And you know, and just being able to like experience it again, it was pretty amazing. So you know, when I found out that the company, you know, had a special artist that had, you know, done graphics for the store and had created the image and the design behind Grand Union, you definitely could see it. The store was ahead of its time back in the day, and it just kind of holds I don't know, it just kind of holds a special place in my heart. It kind of brings me back to my childhood. It helps to make me think of my parents when they went to Hawaii and how awesome that was. And yeah, it was just kind of a different time. Boy, we got a lot of branding, Grand Union imaging around here, don't we? You're not going to be confused what island you're on. So that, guys, I think is really, that's the story of Grand Union. That's why I named my island the name that it is. I just thought it was just a cool little remembrance of a really awesome time in my youth, I guess my childhood basically, and remembering a time when, you know, my parents were both still alive. And Blue Bear, what are you doing? And yeah, it was just a really great time. So now, guys, don't make fun of this area here. We're trying to we're trying to navigate the we're working on trying to make this look better. I haven't spent a lot of time up here, but I got my stuff out. I'm thinking. I'm getting overrun by flowers because I haven't done that trick with the ground cover yet. So they're multiplying at the speed of sound as I get rain here on Grand Union. But yeah, guys, I think you've seen the whole island. In my house. But yeah, that's the story behind Grand Union. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, stick around for, I'm going to try to attach some pictures that are my pictures that I took up at the Swanton, Vermont store when Grand Union was still around. And there's going to be a short, like, little commercial clip at the very end. And I want to say thank you to DJ Brian Florence, which is funny because I remember him as, like, the soda finder way back in the day. He, I want to say, posted this commercial maybe 16 years ago on YouTube. I know, way back when YouTube first started was when he actually, like, posted the commercial, because I remember seeing it, like, way back then. So I was able to actually capture just a clip of it, just so I could share it with you guys. But I definitely want to say thank you. He found it on a VHS tape that he had, and he posted it, and it was like one of the very first Grand Union commercials ever put on YouTube, as kind of a remembrance to the company. So, and it definitely, it's going to be wicked grainy, guys. It's going to be so hard to see, but hopefully you can kind of get an idea of how amazing it was as a grocery store. Because even now in 2022, I still remember it being an absolutely incredible store. So, interesting little side note, one of the things when I was looking up information about it, the company that had bought the last remaining Grand Unions, which is the CNS wholesaler, they've actually acquired, I want to say, 10 grocery stores from a grocery store merger, and I believe they were called Tops Food Stores, and they now are sporting the Grand Union red dot, and they are actually a Grand Union supermarket again. Unfortunately, they're not the same thing as Grand Union was. They're basically just using the name. So if you look at their stores, they don't look anything at all like what I remember Grand Union being. But anyways, hope you enjoy the pictures. Hope you enjoyed the little video clip at the end. And guys, thanks so much for watching. I gotta end my video here in front of my boy's house. My boy Curlos. Gotta love it. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Check out the pictures at the end, and enjoy the video clip. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed, and if you watched this far, thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.
We've added service butcher shops, fresh seafood, never frozen, fresh from scratch bakeries, the world's best delis. We're making another promise come true. Only the best, always for less. Take a good look at the new Grand Union. It just gets better.
Guys, are you still watching? Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for watching my video today. I really appreciate you listening to my story time about where Grand Union came from and why that name is so special. And hopefully you liked the pictures that I shared from Swanton, Vermont. And then I also included that little commercial clip, thanks to TJ Brian Florence for posting that on YouTube years ago. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So guys, remember, if you have not shared yet in the comments. Oh, it's my boy Curlos. Curlos, you distracted me. Guys, if you haven't left in the comments below, share your island name and why you decided to choose that as your island name. And for those of you that don't have Animal Crossing, but guys, if you did have Animal Crossing and you were going to have a deserted island and you had to give it a name, what would it be? And why would you name it that? I'd like to hear comments from you guys. But guys, seriously, it's I want to say this is like a 45-minute video. So, guys, if you watched all of this, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is probably one of my longer videos, and I am just going to give it a plug and say like, share, and subscribe if you haven't joined my channel yet, because I'd love to have you. Always look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments section below. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye!